Here about EU policy restricting incineration. I think it's about a perception that it adds to greenhouse gases, and actually it adds an absolutely minuscule amount compared with power generation, flying, excuse the pun, it's a drop in the ocean. And obviously there are lots of green groups, including Greenpeace, that have campaigned against incineration. In the country where I live, in Italy, there was a big campaign in the 1990s in the Campania region to stop incineration. The rubbish piled up. Cut a long story short, people started burning it. They sent the army in to clear it up, and it all got exported to be incinerated. So there is obviously a history of green groups campaigning against incineration. So that's an issue. I agree with Libby that incineration requires huge amounts of plastic to be burnt, but there's plenty there and it's piling up, so I don't see that as being a problem. Robots on the beach, I'm not entirely against you on this one, James, but I don't see that as a big part of a practical solution. I was listening on Radio 4 the other day to some people on the Isle of Wight talking about their beach cleans. It's interesting to hear them say that sometimes they're very frustrated that they go down to the beach and they can't find any plastics. It's interesting to hear them say that sometimes they go down and they do find some plastics, and then people walk past them and say, "Well done," and they say, "Yes, and why aren't you helping us?" If people want to do that, that's fine, but I think a lot of that is about kind of moral posturing. I think there's also a thing about plastics, particularly the microplastics discussion. That it's something we can't see, and it's like the kind of new devil, and we're all going to feel very guilty about our kind of relationship with plastics. I read a very interesting study in Indonesia which examined the diets of thousands of Indonesians, and obviously Indonesia is a country where generally there's a very high level of fish in the diet, and secondly it's one of those parts of the world where there's a lot of plastic. They examined the microplastic impact, and this was published by the BBC, and they found no negative impact of microplastics on people's diets. They found the microplastic in there, but no negative health impacts. So again, as Helen said at the beginning, it's there. We often can't see it. Is it the kind of new devil of humanity that we're kind of feeling guilty about, and just kind of drifting around, and therefore we need to kind of cleanse our souls by walking around the beach on Saturday morning?
You just made me think of a little factoid that I discovered about a year ago in relation to your point about incineration, but it's not actually incineration. In Britain we have renewable energy statistics, and it's like